Good morning, John. You're right now in Sierra Leone. I was just texting with you. You're visiting the Maternal Center of Excellence, which I cannot wait to see more of. And it is making me wonder about something that I think is important, and I apologize, but it is about AI. I think that AI is a big deal, and I do think that it's going to change a lot of things, but whenever somebody tells me that AI is going to change everything and solve like all problems, I check in with a little standard I've created. It's maybe you would call it a benchmark, not like how good is it at drawing a pelican on a bike or inventing a novel protein or beating a grandmaster at chess. We're going to call it Shelter Bench. How will AI help solve the housing crisis? Because to me, the lack of housing that people want, where people want it, is one of the big problems that underlies many, many other problems in America. And I know that it is worse where I live than other places, but it is a very big problem and it underlies a lot of other problems. And on that benchmark, I think AI does very poorly. And it's strange to me that we don't even look at this or think about it, but obviously, ask this question. If it's such a big deal, how does it solve the biggest problems? Maybe it would help a tiny bit at the margins. Maybe you could do permitting more quickly, maybe cheaper code review or design. But that's not what's blocking housing in America. I don't think anybody thinks that we haven't applied enough intelligence to the problem. The lion's share of the issue, and there's other things around this, but the lion's share is that people who own land in an area have power over that area, and they have all kinds of reasons to try and prevent new housing from being built there, especially more dense new housing. They don't want more traffic. They're scared of change. They know that if 20 people move in, maybe 2 of those people are going to be neighbors that they don't particularly like. Their property values benefit from scarcity. Nobody thinks AI is going to fix that. It's like saying that steam engines are going to fix hurricanes. There are problems that exist in different universes. So how does AI do on the Shelter Bench benchmark? Badly. It might potentially be actively making it worse because it might further concentrate wealth and intense inequality, creates weird economic incentives to only serve the wealthiest consumers. Anyway, we could also take a look at another similar series of problems with TB Bench. We here all know that tuberculosis kills more than 1 million people a year, and we've known how to prevent almost all of those deaths for decades. So that problem can't be intelligence because we have the know-how. Now, AI might help with diagnostic image reading or developing new antibiotics or surveillance modeling, which it would be great. All those things are great, but those are not the thing that would solve the problem because we have solutions now. And doing any of those things or implementing any of those things would still require institutions that want the outcomes and can execute on them. Again, it's the same problem. The people who need the help, who need the resource, don't have power over the resources. People who need housing don't have any sway inside of a community. They don't live there. They don't have housing. The story of a transformative technology tends to be told as 1, this technology is very powerful. 2, powerful technologies transform society. 3, therefore, this technology will help solve our biggest problems. But I don't know if you spotted the logical problem there. 3 does not follow from 1 and 2. What follows from 1 and 2 is therefore our society will be transformed. In what ways it is transformed is not clear. Now, John, some people are still out here thinking that AI is a scam. To me, that's obviously not what's going on. So I want to try and articulate what is going on. But in order to do that, I have to redefine intelligence. I mean, redefine. Can anyone define intelligence? No, obviously not. But throughout this video, I have been saying that you can't solve the housing crisis with more intelligence. But there is a version of intelligence. You could define intelligence in such a way that a bunch of intelligence would help solve the housing crisis, especially if it was spread out among a lot of people who have power. But there's also a definition of intelligence that definitely could not help solve the housing crisis, and that's the one I'm using right now. So I want to tease these things out. I have lately been thinking about intelligence as power over information. So power in the physics sense is the ability to basically manipulate atoms. Heat them up, speed them up, pick them up, drop them, slam them into each other, melt them, mix them, push them over here. It's doing all of those things. So lately, I've been thinking of intelligence as the ability to manipulate information. Mix them up, make new things out of it, push some over here, bring a bunch of it to the top of a mountain and throw it off. That, I don't know what I mean exactly, but the ability to manipulate information, which I know is not what we mean precisely by intelligence, but what is it? There's no good definition anyway, but I think that there's some value in looking at it through this lens for a moment here, where intelligence is the ability to manipulate information. And yeah, crows do that, and single-celled organisms do that, and like maybe search engines do that. And maybe we don't think of those things as having intelligence. You know, certainly they're not intelligent, but they might have intelligence. I think maybe they do. Regardless, if the shorthand I'm using for the ability to manipulate information is the word intelligence, then intelligence, you get like processing and sorting and predicting and even generating. We just have way more of it than we used to have, even without AI, and potentially very cheaply. We have way more ability to manipulate information and to have it do stuff for us than we previously had. That's very powerful. That's very interesting, and nobody knows what that means. We live in an intelligence-constrained world, and so if you have more of it, like a bunch of stuff's going to get created that otherwise wouldn't happen. But intelligence is separate from what I'm just going to go ahead and call wisdom, and I don't think that we have a way to mass-produce wisdom. So perhaps we have been moving throughout my lifetime from a world that was intelligence constrained to one that is wisdom constrained. Perhaps that transition started a while back, but we are in the midst of it still. So for more examples, intelligence would help you get what you want, whereas wisdom would help you want what you should want or the right things. It's the ability to figure out which problems are worth solving and then to solve them in ways that don't create worse problems in the process, which is not easy. Even the wise fail on that sometimes. But like designing a more effective slot machine is an application of intelligence. I don't think that you would call it an application of wisdom. And wisdom also has to survive contact with reality and also the other people who make up reality. I don't see any reason to think that like making intelligence extremely efficient would like change the power dynamics that create an unjust world. It might help, it might hurt, it might do both at the same time or in different situations or at different scales. It is impossible to know, though I certainly see a concentration of power being somewhat inevitable here, but maybe not. I don't know. A frame that has been resonating with me is that AI is to some extent a technology. It is a tool that already makes like a fairly broad array of tasks easier, probably make more tasks easier in the future. I think that it's genuinely a big technological shift. That is sort of how I'm imagining it. There's a lot of, leaping 7 steps down the path that I don't think is valuable because nobody can predict any of these things. But like, as of right now, it is a big technological shift. And so has been the internet. And so has been personal computing. These things did not solve the housing crisis. Like, it's wild to say this, but it is obviously true that it will be easier for AI to create a cancer drug than it will be to get that cancer drug to all the people who need it. And I think that it is important to recognize that those problems are both problems. The cancer doesn't care if the drug exists. It is not going to be affected by the existence of a drug that is not being given to a patient. So the question isn't whether AI is powerful. I think that it clearly is. It's just that no one can know what its impacts will be. Will it allow wisdom to flourish, or will it allow the powerful to route around wisdom as they tend to do when given the opportunity? And I don't know how to answer that question, but John, I hope you're having a good trip. And please tell everyone at the Maternal Center of Excellence that they are doing work that really matters. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm about to upload this video, and I just wanted to say that Nilay Patel put out a video yesterday about some of his thoughts on similar topics that in part inspired this video. And I'll link that in the description. And also, John, I'm just going to do a screenshot. I'll show you this. You texted me this morning and you said the MCOA is incredible. It is truly, truly incredible. Pretty cool.